In a small fishing village by the sea, there lived a young fisherman named Kai. Every day he went out to sea, casting his net, hoping to bring in a good catch. But for as long as he could remember, Kai never dared to go beyond the shallow waters. There were stories of bigger, better fish in the deep, but there were also legends of terrible storms and monstrous waves. Kai believed the deeper waters were dangerous and stayed where he felt safe. One crisp morning, an old sailor, weathered by countless voyages, walked into the village. He spotted Kai untangling his small net near the shore. "Why don't you go out to the deep?" the sailor asked, his voice rough like the wind. Kai shook his head, avoiding the sailor's gaze. "I'm not ready. The deep is too dangerous for me," he said. "I'll stick to what I know." The sailor smiled, a knowing smile. "Is it really the deep that scares you, or the stories you tell yourself about it?" The next morning, Kai noticed the old sailor sitting on a rock by the shore. He held a peculiar, ancient-looking compass that shimmered in the sunlight. "Take this," the sailor said, handing Kai the compass. "It only works in deep water. If you're willing to trust it, it will guide you." Kai hesitated, staring at the compass. "But what if I get lost? What if the stories are true?" The sailor's eyes were kind, but firm. "What if they're not?" Kai sat on his boat, staring out at the horizon, the compass in his hand. He knew that if he stayed in the shallows, he would only ever catch the small, ordinary fish. With a deep breath, he started rowing towards the unknown, the familiar village lights fading behind him. The further he went, the darker the waters became, and soon the waves grew taller, almost menacing. His heart pounded, and the stories of the dangerous deep replayed in his mind. But the compass was steady, its needle pointing firmly ahead. Suddenly, he felt a strong tug on his fishing line. It was heavier than any catch he'd ever had. Just then, the wind picked up, and a wave crashed over the side of his boat, nearly capsizing him. Panic gripped Kai, but he remembered the sailor's words. Clinging to the compass, he steered through the chaos, his net pulling harder than ever. In a burst of courage, he fought against the storm and pulled up the net with all his strength. In his net was the biggest, most beautiful fish he had ever seen, a catch that would feed the entire village for days. Kai returned to shore, soaked and exhausted, but alive. The village gathered around, eyes wide in amazement, as he told them of the storm and the compass that had guided him. He held the giant fish, and the awe of the villagers was palpable as they listened to his tale of courage and determination. The old sailor watched from a distance, a proud smile on his face, nodding at Kai's achievement. The village celebrated Kai's bravery, but it wasn't the size of the fish that made him proud. It was the lesson he had learned. The old sailor approached him, his eyes wise and kind. Kai understood then. The stories that held him back were only in his head. The real danger was never the deep waters. It was the limits he had set for himself. From that day on, Kai became known as the bravest fisherman in the village, the one who ventured where no one else dared. His greatest catch wasn't the fish, but the freedom to explore the depths without fear. And whenever a young fisherman asked him for advice, he'd show them the compass and say, "The only thing you truly have to fear is the cage you build for yourself." So, a beautiful lesson that we all learned here is, the greatest limits we face are the ones we place on ourselves. To grow, you must leave the safety of the familiar and challenge the stories of doubt that hold you back. True courage is found not in avoiding fear, but in facing it, and discovering that the only real danger was never trying at all.